Being part of NCMPR was a professional highlight of my career. It was a tremendous thing. I felt like I had reached a zenith. I had reached a top rung in the community college marketing and communications realm.
When I first started out as someone in higher ed, public relations, and communications, NCMPR served as a lifeline. It served as a touchstone for me to get information that I didn't have as I was trying to figure out what I should and shouldn't be doing in the role, and how I should be trying to lead a department, or how I should be doing my work. Being new in a director role is when I really got a lot from NCMPR. So did I know that I was going to get all the things that I would get? No. I think that what you hope is that you'll get to go to a conference and learn from folks, that you'll get an opportunity to maybe have your work peer evaluated and third party credibly, objectively analyzed through the awards program, and that maybe you'll get some awards and bring them back and justify the work that you're doing, or have your leadership see that the work that you're doing it matters. But those are the surface things that are probably in a brochure or on a website that tell you what you're going to get from joining.
There are just times during a year that you need a break, and you need to go somewhere different. You need to see different people. And that was a huge part of what NCMPR always provided me. Was there are those couple of conferences every year, the district conference, the national conference. This was before I was even on the board, that I could always look forward to and go and meet the people that I had met the prior years and be friends and just relax and unwind at those, while at the same time learning all these great things that NCMPR provides. But it was just that whole part of just getting away from the daily grind of what work is. Not that I didn't love my job, but it just sometimes you need to get away. And that was a big part of what I think NCMPR always provided me. I know I always looked forward to those opportunities. And when I came home, I was ready to go, and I was excited again about getting back to work.
My career path and my time at NCMPR are really intertwined. You can't have one comment without mentioning the other, really in the same sentence. And in preparation for today, I went and dug out my very first medallion award. And I happen to have it right here. Here it is from 2005. It's a bronze. And I got it for brochure series Related. And it was signed by another NCMPR president, also a District 5 director, Heather McDormand.
NCMPR changed my career completely, but only for the better. I learned so much. I gained mentors. I became a mentor. I gained a lot of confidence, especially with public speaking. And I also gained a huge network of colleagues who helped me at every turn.
I started my job in February, and this is dated October 2nd, 2005, coincidentally, my birthday. And so 6 months into my career at my college, I was an engaged member, submitting work, winning awards, a bronze, but still a one award at NCMPR. And so that is really getting those awards early on gave me confidence. It validated my view of the work that I did and the quality of what was to come in the experience within the organization, the skills that I got to be more impactful at my day job.
It's a morale builder. I mean, nothing's more exciting than winning the award. And as the team, I think it also helps validate your team within your own college. The things you're doing, other people recognize as great things.
NCMPR gave me confidence to go back to my college and know that I knew what I was talking about. Confidence to join NCMPR's board, think that I was worthy. You come in and you might be a little bit overwhelmed with all the people you meet at first, and then you realize nobody's competing against each other. Everybody's there to help each other.
It was a huge part of my career because when I first started, at MCC, I had not been in community college world before. So I felt like I needed to learn a lot. And NCMPR's conferences and the newsletter and meeting people from mainly my district at the time really gave me a lot of knowledge that I needed to have. So at the beginning, I was kind of like absorbing everything. And then I started thinking I got enough behind me to start presenting. So I was doing roundtables, and then I got my nerve up to do some presentations. So it was kind of just the start of my being able to bring stuff to NCMPR, but I took so much away from it.
This is also about what you put into the organization that you're a part of. If you don't put anything into it, then you'll get a lot out of it, but it'll only be those surface things that are listed on the website. When you put a lot of yourself into the organization and into the relationships, that's when you get the meaningful relationships, the lifelong friendships, the advisors that you can count on at any moment in time. But NCMPR is also surprising in that way because you don't necessarily realize the community that you're becoming a part of until you get into that world. And then you start to see all that's there beyond the normal membership.
I was asked by Bobby Fouch Reynolds, who was president at the time when I was at a district conference, if I would consider running for district director. And that was like a huge leap for me because I didn't see myself then as a leader. So I did. I ran for district director, and that was an amazing learning experience the whole time. So moving from district director and then onto the board, and then eventually becoming president, all of that was huge impact for my career.
It enhanced my self-confidence, and it made me more savvy in the world of marketing and communications. My world grew, and my awareness of community college issues expanded. I became aware of national trends that I probably wouldn't have become aware of until much later. So it put me ahead of the curve in helping my institution develop strategies to deal with what was coming down the pike. When I started, our resources included electric typewriters and very early rudimentary word processing devices. There was no internet, for example.
When I think back to when I first was coming up at NCMPR, and I remember, the infamous example was you would always do, or your president would always want you to do ads at the movie theater before the movie started. And I remember thinking like, okay, I know when I go to the movies, no one pays attention to those. And so it was really hard to, with actual data, prove the ROI on those was like nil because there wasn't any way to measure. And so when I look at marketing and communications projects now, I think especially with the advent of technology, there are so many ways to definitively measure the ROI and the impact of a campaign or a project.
I literally started my career typing news releases and printing them out and snail mailing them. Now it's my understanding that news releases are barely a thing anymore. Certainly the internet came in the middle of my career, and that changed PR and communications forever, mostly for the better.
I had to train all of our faculty and staff and students in how to use email. When I started, we didn't have the internet. So if you think about that alone, it's just that we didn't have to worry about any of the online kinds of things. Social media, my gosh, even after we got the internet coming in, which it came in about my first couple of years, that's about the time it came in. Social media wasn't even a thing until many years later.
In 2009 with social media, that was new, and I had faculty telling me, our college better never do that because we'll just set ourselves up for legal problems, and et cetera. So I went to a summer institute of NCMPR, about social media, came back with a white paper written by a PhD, Pam Coxotto, who said, you can't not do this. And I took that into my president, and, there I had the white paper written by a academic that she would respect. And she just said, you're right, proceed.
One of the years when I was on a chair of a communications committee in another organization, national, we were trying to figure out how can we get information that we need quickly. So if the national office gets a request that let's say from the media, they want to write a story about XYZ, how do we contact our members? Well, believe it or not, in 1990, we set up a phone tree. Again, there was no email, there was none of that other thing. So that's, of course, a radical change.
I was president when the pandemic hit. So how the industry's changed is work from home. The very first podcast we did at NCMPR, I was on it, and we had just that day been told, you're working from home. How do you do that? I mean, NCMPR staff has always known how to do that for a long time, but I had no idea how to do that.
The pandemic definitely has really changed focus on how we do things. I think it's something that has shifted us to more digital. Even though it was already trending that way with social media, I see the trend to interpersonal and really going after the feels, which has always been a hallmark of communication because people resonate with something that evokes an emotional response. But now, after what we went through collectively in the entire world, it seems like that's even more relevant now.
I think back then, you could know a little bit about a lot and be successful. It's harder now to have that wide breadth of knowledge because these tools that we have are so much more nuanced. So I think, back in the day, you could just be like, oh yeah, I know about social media, I know about print, I know about direct mail. And now I think as you're rising up in your management career, it would be harder to get knowledge around all those things because it seems to me now that younger professionals specialize in an area, and that was not the case when I was coming up.
I think that we are losing the contemplative parts of our careers or of our jobs. Sometimes you just need to sit at your desk and chew on doing, here's my problem and can I solve it a different way? I think that's actually American life right now. It's not just community colleges, but we can do more. We can do it faster, but is it best? Do we have time to be thoughtful and to really consider what we do instead of just throwing spaghetti against the wall?
At that point in time, we wrote a press release, we printed it out, and I hand delivered it to the newspaper. In those days, you could just walk in. And so I would give it to the person, but then I was free to just walk around the newsroom and have a personal conversation. And, nothing can replace that. You would bump into someone, not even the one you're delivering the press release to, but someone else and just, how are things? And she'd ask a question which could lead to another story.
Before the internet, there was a lot more personal one-on-one communication, maybe a lot more reaching out on the phone, getting to build rapport in a little bit more personal way. That maybe the internet and email and texting and DMs maybe don't afford you. You know how you can kind of read between the lines with technology in a way that maybe isn't always healthy.
I'm not sure what the teams engage in now when they develop their marketing strategies, but I suspect they're not looking at too many billboard designs, and that was kind of fun and exciting. And, to see, ride around your community and see your ads on, I did everything, including, we did everything, I should say, including the benches outside of the commuter trains.
The channels were pretty straightforward. There was direct mail, there were lists, there were phone calls. You actually measure the number of phone calls that came in on an ad you put out. And you'd have a special number that they would call, and you track that number. And that was an advanced idea at the time. And then newspaper ads. I don't think they were better at all. I just think that they were easier.
Well, I'm 50 as well, so I think NCMPR started when I was born, so you're welcome, everyone. So we kind of go hand in hand, sort of symbiotic relationship. What I think in the next 50 years for the organization is it's just going to continue to grow. It doesn't matter what's out there, AI, new trends in technology, generational differences. The ability to communicate and communicate effectively will always be there. And in our industry, in which we're trying to more and more, it seems like, sell education, which used to be just a given or a privilege, it's going to be more and more important for organizations like NCMPR to become the premier organization to help our peers kind of understand those trends and how to be ready as things change year to year or month to month, it seems like.
I would see in the next 50 years NCMPR developing a kind of organization where they would allow the people in marketing and public relations to get credentialed by taking courses and classes, and then that become accepted nationwide as a prerequisite for what employers are looking for.
One of the big topics of conversation when I was on the board, and I think, so maybe like 10 years ago, and we're seeing it come again, NCMPR is going to get younger. As it ages, it's going to get younger. And so I think, in the life cycle of NCMPR, you join NCMPR and you kind of go through your career. And I think we're at like the precipice of another mass retirement coming up. And so I think as NCMPR moves forward, really addressing those younger members, both personally and professionally.
I just the other day saw I don't know if it was a startup, I think it was, that is starting to create 3D images of people speaking. So it'd be like the Princess Leia in R2-D2 in the first Star Wars movie, where she pops out and she's there speaking. So in my head, I imagined like the conference where you could have people sitting in the room in the round and actually have a speaker that you're beaming in a 3D kind of way in the middle of the room and speaking to everybody in the room. So I think there's some cool things that probably aren't that far down the road that might be coming. I hope doesn't happen, though, is that we get so used to those distance learning opportunities that we start fading away from going to conferences and the personal interactions that provides. I think those are so important that I just would hate to see people lose that. And I can just see that starting to happen, not because the organization wants it to happen, but because that is the demand from people in general.
In all ways, the membership is should become more diverse in all ways. We're from all parts of the country. We all come from different backgrounds, but we come together once or twice a year physically and through all of the different professional development opportunities. When I first started, there was a few more males in our organization that were on the board. And so as a board member, it was interesting to see how that's changed over the years. You're just starting to see more people willing to jump in and be a part of it. And I think that's where we've made adjustments in committee memberships and those types of things in the past few years to get more people involved.
50 years from now, or within the next 50 years, if NCMPR is more global, so maybe it'll be Global Council for Marketing and Public Relations, 10 more districts than you have now. Who knows? But it seems to me that the future holds growth for the community college mission worldwide.
I still see it as the best networking opportunity for two-year communications and marketing and web people, that exists. I'm at a 4-year now. You know, I kind of moved from the 2-year realm into the 4-year realm. There's nothing like NCMPR. Nothing. I've looked around. I'm almost tempted to form something because it is that valuable. You know, they got CASE and they got this and that, and they're not the same. They're not the same. The networking, the information sharing that you get from NCMPR is unmatched.
I think that we have an amazing opportunity right now to demonstrate our value. It is so gosh darn expensive to go to college. People who are our core markets are really questioning whether it's worth their time, their money. I think what NCMPR will do in the next 50 years is make really crystal clear the value of what we offer, and especially in comparison to the rest of the industry. We are practical, we are embedded in our communities, we pay attention to trends in our communities.
Specifically artificial intelligence, and how many of us are starting to implement that in what we do, and how that may even impact the way students are taught or trained. I can only imagine 10, 20, 50 years from now, things that we haven't even imagined yet, but that will impact anyone in this profession. And certainly we hope it doesn't replace us. I think there's always going to be that human element, but it's understanding that what we may see as opportunities may also pose as challenges, and being able to move along with that game as it occurs.
I predict that finally, after 50 years of being a unit within the institution, our college CFOs will give us all the money and all the resources to do all the things that they know that we need to do to bring students to our doors and to make them, empower them and make them successful. I also think that belonging is going to be huge. As demographics change within the country, so too will community colleges and our makeup. We certainly serve a lot of diverse populations now. That will continue, and we will be really at the forefront of making sure that open access institutions are available, and just that for our populations.
So I see NCMPR just growing and being more at the forefront as CEOs of, say, presidents, chancellors of community colleges and trade colleges will see us as the way to get their folks up to speed on the newest trends.
I've had a couple of newspaper articles in our local paper printed, and one recognized me as being named the president of NCMPR, but another article recognized me as a woman making history in the making, because at that time I was the first Black president that the organization had ever had. And my local newspaper picked up on it and wrote their own article about me being selected. So that was a big thing for me during my presidency.
DEI was a very strong and current and kind of a buzzword. And, you know, we had just come off the whole thing with Black Lives Matter and a lot of that. And I think it was a time when we were really trying to find our footing. How do we get more people who, are diverse into the organization? And, I know I'm African-American. I know we've had an African-American president in the past, but it had been a long time. So I wanted to help bring more diverse views and people into the mix. So that was an important consideration.
It was important to me to break a barrier that was there. It had to be broken.
In 2009, I got to go to San Juan Island during drinking out of the cup right now, San Juan Island. When would I ever have done that? Midwest girl, I don't know that I ever would have gotten to go there. But one of the sessions was by Langara College in Canada. The session was about how they were honoring the Indigenous people who owned the land that the college now was on. They had added some of their native language to their tagline, and it's, to me, such a wonderful, wonderful thing that we're recognizing the Indigenous people that lived on the lands we do now and that our colleges are on. But that was a turning point for me, so that's one of my favorite memories.
When I was president, our conference was in Chicago.
Chicago conference in the year 2000 was an incredible challenge for us.
It was right around St. Patrick's Day, and I think it was March the 10th or something, and the city was getting ready to celebrate. The river had already been dyed green, and we had this amazing hotel where we stayed. And of course, I was given the presidential suite, which was so big, it had a white baby grand piano in it and a wet bar and all this other kind of stuff, which was like crazy. And I announced at the conference that the room would be open 24/7. Just don't wake me up if you get. But then in the middle of the conference, we had a terrific conference planned. We got hit with this huge spring snowstorm.
Several presenters and many of the enrollees, the registrants, weren't able to make it. Travel was really impeded.
And we couldn't get out of the hotel to literally go anywhere.
And so we really had to scramble to make the conference a good experience for the people who were there. I remember that Sandra and Larry Golden came in and pitched it and did a session. The After Paragon party was a huge celebration. There was an incredible band.
We made some phone calls and brought in a real hot rock band from the Chicago area. We turned them loose in the ballroom, and we had a hell of a party that was great.
Everyone stayed and danced until the very end. It was just great. And it was just a celebration of survival under adverse circumstances.
Some of the ones that I would remember probably shouldn't be telling. That's the thing.
Being Patrick Stone at Big Buck Hunter in whatever arcade it was, because I've done it so many times that I've lost track of it. But certainly, my arcade victories I hold dear to my heart.
I could talk about how I sang Jimi Hendrix with a guy in San Francisco at 2:00 in the morning outside the conference hotel. I could talk about how I ran into Daryl Hammond on Bourbon Street in New Orleans. I could mention how I got to shake hands with Ari Shapiro in Portland.
I was making my airline reservations to all the different districts, and there was a glitch on Southwest, and I ended up reserving 76 seats for myself. And I have no idea how. It was a problem. And I thought to myself, well, okay, party plane.
My favorite memory was actually, and it's kind of selfish, is when my college won its first gold Paragon. But it was one of those things where you get your name called and you go up there and get your Paragon. And I was so proud of my team. And the best part came, I know it's not really answering the question, was after, when I brought it back to my college. So what we do is whenever we meet with somebody, like for a campaign, whether it's faculty or a staff member, I always take them into our conference room, and right behind me, they always see it over my shoulder, an entire wall just filled with NCMPR certificates, bronze, silver, and golds that we won over the years. And then there's the Paragons there, the gold Paragons. And a lot of what we do is psychological. So when people want to say, are you sure you know what you're doing? I always like to glance over at my shoulder and go, yeah, I think we know what we're doing. An awesome organization has validated the work that we've done, and we want to do that for you. So your event's going to be spectacular.
I was definitely had a lot of anxiety around being kind of the face of the conference, the national conference, and being in front of people and speaking, and was not in my comfort zone. And I just decided, you know, I was going to sort of share that with people day one, and said, you know, this is what it's going to look like, and I'm doing my best. And it was the morning of the second day, I think, just kind of milling around for breakfast, and a woman came up to me and said, you know, I just want to tell you, you're doing a great job. She said, you could tell you're nervous, but you're embracing it, and you're owning it, and it's your style, and you stick with your style, and it's working for you, and it's great, and we're having a good time. And it just really sort of touched me. She didn't need to do that. I didn't know her name. I didn't know who she was, and it was just a sort of an act of kindness and generosity, and it's sort of, in a way, is kind of at the heart of the entire NCMPR journey, mission, the core of NCMPR for me, this we're all in this together kind of thing. And it was really, you know, sort of brought it back to that sort of sharing and caring and supporting.
My year was kind of tough for me personally. My son had just been diagnosed with lymphoma. I was needing to be home a little bit more when I should be out representing the organization. And so many of our community members, executive committee, they stepped in and took a load off, enabling me to be home for my son's treatments and those types of things. So I'm very grateful. It was an exciting year. It's still fun for me, but just the friendships through these colleagues that are at the NCMPR, they were willing to step up and help me out that way. It's just immense.
My husband died when I was past president. So I was president, and then the next year was past president in New Orleans. And when I came into the first board meeting, the board as one all got up, came over and encircled me. And so it was so much more than a professional relationship with those people.
You know, I was thinking it was such a blur in many ways. I think when it finally happened, the best memory was just standing up at the podium and looking out at the first group of people who were sitting down there and ready to have a great time and learn. And I realized, wow, it all came together.
It's kind of like those late nights staying up, you know, after the conference. You've put in a hard 3 days working with the executive office, making sure things run smoothly, doing your part, you know, providing your contribution during those days. But just visiting that last night, you know, it's done and it was successful, and, you know, patting everyone else on the back. You know, and then even summer board meetings where we would meet, and of course you would have business to take care of, but then it was also a time to get to know each other better and go do something fun.
You know, it's one of those things that when it's over, you're just really glad you did it. And it was kind of like jumping out of an airplane. You know, it sounded like a good idea at the time, and then you get there and it's like, okay, said I was going to do it, I'm going to do it.
All of my big moments and memories that I have with NCMPR has been with my colleagues. It's been presenting with them. It's been watching them present. It's been watching them win medallions and paragons and communicators of the year and pace setters and rising star. I've seen all of my friends at one point in time win those things and be part of that and celebrate their work.
The point right is always to leave it better than you found it. And I think I tried to do that, and my colleagues did during that year, and I'm proud of that work. And I loved that opportunity to work with my peers on something that was bigger than me. And I always think about the presidents that came before me that I was on the board with, and thinking about how we would start something and then hand it off and try to continue that work. And so I was proud to be a part of the 5 or 6 people that came before me and that will come after, that are coming after me.
It's one of the reasons I'm still involved. You know, I'm no longer with a community college, but I still find myself learning great things for my volunteer work, for some of the consulting I've done. It's just a timeless organization in that way.
Excited to see what comes next during the future presidencies.
Happy anniversary, Big 5-0 NCMPR. So proud to be a part of this organization for more than half of that time. What a great organization. Congratulations.
Happy 50th anniversary, NCMPR. Thank you for everything you do for me and for our members.
Just wishing NCMPR the happiest 50th anniversary possible.
To all of the members of NCMPR, congratulations on the 50th year anniversary.
Happy 50th anniversary, NCMPR.
I think the words are pretty simple. Congratulations on 50 wonderful years. And in Italian, buona fortuna, good fortune in the future, and chin done. And it means make it to 100. So good luck with that, and congratulations, and have fun.
So I guess my question is, when people are making their happy birthday wish, so to speak, or happy anniversary, do they get emotional, or is it just me? I'd like to say from the bottom of my heart, happy 50th anniversary NCMPR. You've provided me with an opportunity of a lifetime.
It's just such a great organization for higher ed, and I wish you all the best.
I feel honored and privileged to have been a part of leadership during my time on the board and as a member of NCMPR.